topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
To Triversity Talk. I'm Wendy Stewart, your hostess with the mostest, of course, every single Wednesday, and happy to have you here with me tonight. We've got big things happening at Triversity, in case you didn't hear. First of all, for those of you who are tuning in, I'm broadcasting from New York, but our Triversity Center is actually in Milford, Pennsylvania. We have a brick and mortar center, which I'm so proud of. And we are hosting, along with Delaware Valley Action, this Sunday in Acconack Park, Pike County Pride. This is a very big event for us. The Pike County is having a pride, and people come from all over to come and spend the day with us. We'll have food. We'll have vendors selling cool stuff. We'll be telling you about programs that we have created in the LGBTQ community. And I'm in charge of the show. We just have one person for the show this year who is just totally fabulous. She is a one-person show herself, the amazing drag performer who actually sings, although a lot of them do these days, the one and only Betty Buttons. So the event will be going from 12 to 4. Please come and join us in Acconack Park. That's in Dingman's Ferry. And again, we've got food, we have fun, and we have each other. So come and support Triversity and Delaware Valley Action this weekend. So I am very excited about the guest I have on tonight. We are very, very old friends, and you all know how much I love to have people from my past on that I'm still in touch with, okay? This person happened to be living across the hall from me, I want to say in the late 70s, early 80s in New York City, and slipped a questionnaire about male sexuality under my door, okay? And my first reaction to this was, oh my God, who is this pervert that's living across the hall? But what I came to realize about this person, they were studying to be a psychologist, and I have followed them through their amazing, and when I tell you amazing career, I've been there from the very beginning. And you know what? That's a really, really good feeling. Okay. Our guest tonight wrote the nonfiction book, Male Sexual Armor. Okay. It's a book about the cop on the beat and the man in the street. You can use your imagination for that one. And then, of course, an amazing novel called A Dream Life, set in 1961 during the Berlin crisis, okay? I love that the first book was nonfiction. The second book is fiction. And then, of course, which he will be happy to share with you, for those of you who are familiar with Sybil, there was a television movie. Everyone knows Sybil was the person with the multiple personalities. I seem to recall hearing that it was 16 separate personalities, but Patrick is actually an expert and had met Sybil and wrote a really amazing book called Sybil in Her Own Words. Okay, I decided to call tonight's segment A Window into Gay Relationships with psychologist Patrick Suraci. So a warm welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my God, you're there. See, Patrick, it's magic. I told you we were going to make it happen. And a big shout out to our incredible friend, Joe Romanskis, who has been behind the scenes there. It's like Oz, Patrick, right? It's like, right, the wizard was up there. We had Joe doing everything, right?
He's the expert.
Joe is the expert. I am so happy to have you here tonight, Patrick. You've had a really amazing career, and you were an actor. All right, then you went to graduate school. I was at your graduation. I mean, how many people can you?
Yes, and by the way, that
Yes,
questionnaire was not from a pervert.
it was
That
from
was
you.
for my PhD thesis.
It was your thesis.
And then it turned into the book, Male Sexual Armor,
Right.
and your husband photographed the cover.
Can you hold that up so everybody can see my husband's beautiful work? Photographed by the late Alan Kaplan. Yeah, hold it up higher.
Yeah.
You're perfect. That's
great.
that is great. And you know what? The topic is great. I'm going to start off from the top with that. What made you write this book?
Well, I was interested in the police because I was teaching at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. So I had a lot of police as students. So I thought, here I have a good subject matter, and they will tell me the truth. They will tell me things they never told anyone else. So I thought I will ask them about their sexuality.
Wow.
And what a difference from the big tough guy on the street who likes to be passive in his sexual encounters. So that's what the basis of the PhD was.
Wow.
For the book.
That's really actually cutting edge. What surprises did you uncover from interviewing these guys?
Well, it's interesting that they also were in my public speaking class. So whenever they had to speak about sexuality, they would be embarrassed. They couldn't talk. They couldn't say anything. And I said, isn't that interesting? You can perform these sexual acts, but you can't talk about them.
That's interesting to me. What do you think that is?
Well, society, especially the image that the police officer should have. And some of them were actually into S&M, sadomasochistic behavior. And they were the masochists. They liked women to beat them.
And they were the ones with the handcuffs. Oh my gosh.
Yes. They liked that too.
Wow. And they incredible. So I guess, you really were able to gain their trust. What do you think it was about you that got them to talk to you?
Well, I was so truthful with them in the classroom. And they would tell me about some of the other teachers that really didn't teach them anything, or that they didn't have faith in, or they didn't understand, or they didn't like. So I said, well, these guys like me, so I better take advantage of this. And also in the book, then, I got the first police officer who came out as gay. He was in San Diego. He was in San Diego Police Department, and he had just quit. And he was on the Phil Donahue show, and I saw him on television, and I called him, and he invited me to come to California to interview him. So I have a whole chapter.
Great story. And you know what? I remember you doing an interview, but I never remember that you had to fly to San Diego and that you made this opportunity happen for yourself. Good for you.
Yeah, that was exciting.
It had to be exciting. Now, had he left the police force because he was embarrassed about being gay, or was he getting harassed?
No, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with that. It was just that he felt they were not being efficient, and he was a very serious guy.
Yeah.
In fact, President Ford at the time, it was Gerald Ford. He was president. He sent him a letter of commendation for providing security for him when he visited San Diego.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So this guy, when he opened up to you, did he tell you that there were other cops that were gay?
Yes, that he knew of them, right. And they were afraid to come out.
Closeted. Everything was closeted.
And we became lifelong friends. And at the end, he became a minister. An ordained minister.
Love this.
Living up in Maine, from one extreme of the country to the other.
But what an extreme life from one end to the other. Patrick, all of this is another book for you. You understand that, like, you can write about somebody's life like that. What, the arc, right? in
Right.
his life. So when he talked to you about other cops, why were they afraid to come out? Was it the times we were living in? Was it they didn't want their families to know? I'm sure some of them were married.
Yes. And they didn't want the families to know, but also it was illegal. They could be kicked out of the police department. In New York, that was illegal for a long time until we had our cop come out in 1982, Charlie Cochran. He was a sergeant, and he formed an organization called the Gay Officers Action League.
Yep.
And then the New York department had to accept them, and they could no longer discriminate because of homosexuality.
So it was, and we call that organization, of course, GOAL for anyone who's
Right.
listening. What's interesting about that is it took one person who had the cañones to come out and say, hey, this is who I am. And there's more than a few of us. Think about that. That really takes a lot. And I didn't
Everybody
realize.
warned him. Everybody warned him not to do it.
Do it. Wow.
He was the only one that stood up for it. Yeah. Everybody he knew told him not to do it.
But he did.
He did it at the city council, a meeting of the city council
I've
in
been
New
down
York.
there. I've gone there for pride. God bless him.
He was in all the newspapers and television and everything. So the department had to accept it, that they couldn't refuse to have him there.
You know what I'm loving hearing from you, Patrick? We hear about Stonewall on here. I have had a number of people who were actually there. And, we go back to what those times were like. No one ever thinks about how did we get the Gay Officers Alliance League? Trust me, they don't think about it.
Well, the young kids, they don't know.
The young kids don't know. And I'm so happy you're a guest on the show because people are going to know now. We have to get this information out there. I think while we're talking about this, and you know this, Gay Officers Alliance League felt discriminated against by New York City Pride and hasn't marched in the last couple of Pride marches.
It was incredible because in the beginning, they were glad to have us march. And the police officers had to march in full uniform, which meant they had to have their gun. That is part of their uniform.
It absolutely is.
Then the past few years, all of a sudden, they said that people in the parade felt uncomfortable with the police having their guns. So we said, well, would you like to take all the police off the street who are protecting the parade, the marchers? You want them to all go away with their guns? Oh, no, that was a different story.
But they didn't want it in the parade. But you brought up a good point. It was part of the uniform. They had to be there.
Yeah, and they're so hypocritical. They want the police on the street protecting them during the parade, but they do not want the police marching in the parade.
Amazing. Amazing. And that is a really good explanation. I've had a lot of people ask me what happened because, GOAL has something every year and they give out awards, and there is a huge amount of LGBTQ policemen now, and awards are given out. Everyone's honored. But then you don't see them in the march. And for me, that's really wrong. They should be, they're part of Pride. And if anyone should have pride, it should be the police.
Yeah.
Especially going against the grain early on in the game, right? And coming out. Well, do you think attitudes have changed against with male sexuality since you wrote Male Sexual Armor? Like, what is your personal opinion?
Well, a good example is my book. The book first was bought by Doubleday, big publisher, a female editor, and she loved the material, loved the book, believed in it. Then, unfortunately, she left Doubleday. She went to a different publisher, but Doubleday kept the book and assigned me to another editor. And she knew nothing about the subject, didn't care about it. And what she said to me was, go and do more research on gay police. I said, there are no research.
Trust me, Patrick, you did all the research. You did all that. You had done it. I hate hearing stuff like that.
And that was the first. There wasn't any. She couldn't understand that. So they dropped the book, and I had to go to a smaller publisher. So you see, society, the mores are incredible.
Right. And now we are talking about the 80s.
Yeah.
Interesting. But what is it about you that, I mean, a lot of people would have walked away and felt like they were knocking their head against the wall. You went and got a smaller publisher. What was it that let you know you could do this?
Well, after I did all that work on the thesis for the PhD, I felt it just had to be published because nobody ever reads those theses. They give you the degree, they file them away in the library. No one ever reads your thesis.
Right.
So this way I wanted a book for the public.
Well, you brought up a good point. The thesis is the reason no one reads them is they're so damn boring. Let's face it. You turned yours into a very interesting book about a subject, right, that a lot of people don't know about. Now, you worked with the police force for a long time, didn't you?
Well, then, after I got my degree, I became a staff psychologist in the police department for the cops and their families. I did family therapy with them, too, with their wives and children. Yeah.
Wow. So it wasn't just LGBTQ police, it was everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
It was everybody. And then I know 9/11, you were one of the first responders.
Well, I belong to an organization called PAPA, POPPA, and that's another one. Police Organization Providing Peer Assistance. And this was formed mainly for the cops who are suicidal. We have a high rate of suicide among police officers in New York. So we had been working at this for years. And then when 9/11 happened, police department said, will you go down there and counsel these police who are working around the clock? They're going crazy. Can you do crisis intervention? There's a whole protocol. So we did. We went down there and they took us right through the site. They said, we want you to feel exactly what the police are going through. So I had to walk with one of the police officers through the site. When we got to the center, I said to her, this is unbelievable. You don't see this on television. She said, no, Anne, look it down below. Little pieces. You didn't know if they were pieces of bodies, computers, desks, all over.
Awful.
The police were covering all that.
Wow. Wow. God bless you for the work that you did there. How do you, doing something like that, what did you have to tell yourself to keep it together?
Just this had to be done, but I'll tell you, my body, once I went through the site and I saw the destruction of all the buildings, it was like 2 football fields of destruction. My body felt like out-of-body experience, kind of thing. And that lasted for 3 months.
It's shock. It is human emotion.
Shock, right. And one morning I woke up and I felt normal again. I said, oh, it's over. But that lasted 3 months. Yeah.
How, in the beginning, how often did you have to go down there?
Well, we went once or twice a week.
That is, whoa, I can't.
There were other psychologists who helped out too.
Right. These are the things that we don't hear about. And I appreciate you sharing that with me and our audience tonight, because a lot of things get covered up. People move on. We built buildings now where those buildings were.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of us who were there, we never forget. We'll never forget.
And they never showed on television people jumping from the buildings.
Right.
Instead of being burnt alive, they smashed the windows and they jumped. So they were all over the ground, broken bodies, and the police had to go and pick them up.
Incredible. Yeah. And you had to counsel those police. Did some of the people that you talked to after, did they have to leave the police force because of the trauma involved in this? Oh, some of them, they became alcoholic. They became drug addicts. Yeah. A couple killed themselves. Yeah.
It took a toll on them. Yeah.
It takes a toll. And yet I feel like we never fully recognized the toll that it took on our fire departments, our police departments. You know, you walk past, I'll be out walking my dog, there's a firehouse in the neighborhood, and they have a plaque in memory of, and you know it was someone that was there and died on 9/11.
The firemen never came to our meetings. They were afraid it would interrupt their routine of working all night, going home, sleeping, having dinner, coming back to work around the clock. That's all they did. They kept saying, yes, yes, we'll come. But we knew they were afraid to come, to break that pattern. They thought they had to do that.
Well, they had themselves focused on what we call the task at hand. But, you know, these are things as human beings, like, how do we wrap our heads around them? Right? That for me also, I lived through it. I remember going to, there was a store, Flemington Coat Factory. You remember it on 6th Avenue. And I went in there with my late husband because we wanted to do something. We were going to buy T-shirts for the firemen and the policemen. And when I told the manager in there, because I needed help, we wanted to buy like 100 of them and pull them out in garbage bags. When I told her what we were there for, she wouldn't take any money. She would not take any money. She gave us the garbage bags filled with the shirts, and then we dragged them over to the west side. I think Chelsea Piers was where they, you know, set up the center so that people could get shirts and things because they were down there in that ash.
You did your part.
Well, listen, we all tried to do our part, but we're here talking as people, right? How do we recover from this? And I'm thinking about everything that you went through, and you wrote the book on male sexual armor. You went through 9/11. So I understand now more, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, why you wrote this latest book.
Oh, well,
about the two soldiers, you know,
like the Army?
Yes, like two soldiers, because you have the background of the two official guys, right? They were soldiers. They were in the
I was there. I was right there. It was a place in Germany outside of Stuttgart. That's where the Kaserne was. And I saw all of the characters in the book are real. That's why I had to write it as a novel. I couldn't tell the names and people but that's all. Everything that happened in that book is true.
It's absolutely true. So you changed. What did you do? You changed the names.
Right. And anything that would identify them.
Amazing. So what we're actually reading with that is nonfiction.
Yes. But you have to write it as a novel to get away with it.
Did anybody, when the book came out, what kind of response did you get?
Well, the guys who were there, some of them contacted me, and they knew who they were in the book. See,
they did.
Right? They said they thought it was good. They thought it was a good thing to let people know. And because at that time you could be kicked out of the Army for being gay. Right. Not only was it against the Army rules, it was illegal. You could be arrested, sent to jail.
Yeah, you could go to jail for being gay. That's hard for people to wrap their head around. So I understand now better. Berlin and the crisis was totally real in 1961. The characters were totally real. And the love story that took place, did you embellish it at all, or was it historically correct?
Oh, no, that was correct. Yeah.
Incredible, Patrick. I
you
never
didn't have to embellish anything.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
See, we have to come on my show. I unveil things. It's like peeling an onion. And
well, it's good. You discover things.
I know. No, I love discovering things like that. So as a writer, and I want to share this, you know, this show is LGBTQ topics, but also as a writer and a psychologist, you have really gone the gamut. Okay. And I do want to talk about your book about Sybil in her own words.
Oh, okay.
How
Well,
did that come about for you?
the first book that came out was just called Sybil,
Right.
and it was written by Flora Schreiber.
I remember.
And she taught with me at John Jay College. She was a colleague. She lived down the street. We became good friends. So she always kept me informed on what Sybil was doing. They were not allowed to ever reveal her name. The psychiatrist and Flora were the only ones who knew. Her
Right.
family didn't even know. So when the psychiatrist died and Sybil died, Flora died,
Flora died.
both of them, then I was worried about Sybil. I thought, if anything happens to her, she goes to the emergency room, they won't know. They don't know who she is.
Right.
So I called her, and she was panic stricken
Of
because
course, anybody would have been.
all the reporters were after her. I had to prove to her that I was a friend of Flora's and I was not a reporter. And then we became great friends. So for 5 years, I interviewed her and wrote about her life after the cure. That was a rare cure. She was really cured of multiple personality.
So that's something people do not know. We hear the phrase multiple schizophrenia.
No, they mixed that up.
How do they cure somebody of this?
Well, in her case, the doctor was very unorthodox. What she did was she used sodium pentothal, which is like the truth serum, they call
Right.
it.
That's what you hear
For
them
Sybil.
using that. Right.
Yeah, so that the other personalities would come out and talk to her. And Sybil didn't know anything about all these other 16 personalities that she had.
Thank you.
They
I
all
remember.
knew about Sybil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one by one, she had to integrate them so that it became the whole person, and that was the cure.
So, okay, you've got to backtrack for all of us because this is like incredible what you're sharing. How did the how did she meet each character and then integrate them into one person? How do you do that, right?
In therapy, she would be talking to Sybil, and she would tell Sybil about this other person. Sybil couldn't believe it. Flora would play the recording. She recorded all the sessions.
Recorded it, right?
Sybil said, "That sounds just like my mother." And it was one of the personalities, just like her mother, who tortured her.
Wow.
So as she became aware of all these parts of herself, that's how gradually they were integrated into the waking Sybil. They call it the waking person.
The waking Sybil. So
Yeah.
in order to do this, Patrick, she had to really access some horribly painful memories.
Took 10 years.
I would imagine that it would. I mean, we're talking about incredible trauma here. And you know, as a therapist, you've treated people for trauma. Trauma you can't always get rid of. It is amazing to me that you could take and integrate it into a final person. There were no inklings of any of those personalities after.
Oh, she remembered all of that.
She remembered
After they
it,
were
but
integrated.
she remembered it, but she didn't become like if you put her on tape talking as her mother, she was aware. Her awareness changed once she was quote unquote cured. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah.
That is very complex, I have to say.
Very rare too.
It is very rare. How does multiple personalities and schizophrenia differ from each other, or do they overlap?
No, they're completely different, but people always confuse them.
They do. So can you clarify that for us?
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yes.
Right?
Good
People
example.
say schizophrenia, but it's not. That's two personalities, so that's multiple personality.
Right.
Schizophrenia, the person loses contact with reality. They have hallucinations. They hear voices. They see things that are not there.
It's a
That
totally
was different.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. It is a totally different thing. So in your career, which has spanned decades, what things have you learned that you didn't think about initially and were kind of like an epiphany for you? By the way, what you just shared about Sybil was an epiphany for me. What about you?
Well, I don't know. I guess I would always be amazed by people who went through such a horrible childhood that they could develop into a normal person, have
Yeah.
a job, have a family, and still have flashbacks of this childhood, but they were able to carry on with their lives. That always amazed me.
Yeah. Do you think that it's just got to do with what certain people mentally are made of? Not better or worse, just, I don't know, better. Some people are better able to cope than others.
Yeah, sure. They are.
Do you
Something
think
they're born with. You're born with that.
that's what I was going to ask you? Is that more of something that might be a genetic thing as opposed to an environmental thing? You
Right.
know, what do they call it? Nature versus nurture.
Nurture. Yeah, nature and nurture.
It is very, very interesting. So for you, like, what do you see happening ahead of you now? What's your plan?
Ah,
What's the plan, Patrick?
well, I think I've earned retirement.
No, you can't retire. See, somebody like you, here's the deal. You have literally seen it all, and your contributions to the LGBTQ community have been huge. Okay, you've got decades in working with LGBTQ police. Like, who's going to come along and take over? Are there a lot of psychologists out there, do you think?
No,
No. That's why I was afraid the answer was no.
no, unfortunately. But that's why I want to teach the kids. I want the young people to know about all of this so
Right.
that some of them may be able to help.
Right. Why do you think that there's nobody that can pick up the mantle out there? You know, supposedly great strides have been made.
Well, one of the great sex researchers was John Money.
John Money, I remember he was a good friend of yours.
He was a leading authority in the world at one point.
Right.
And he got involved in all these complicated cases. And at the end, it was terrible what happened. There was a case of a boy in Chicago. During the circumcision, the surgeon accidentally cut off his penis.
Oh my God.
So the parents had to make a decision whether to bring him up as a boy or a girl. They went to John Money. He counseled them. They went for good therapy and all of that. And in the end, they decided to make this person a girl. Well, she grew up and she always felt something was wrong with her.
Here we go.
And then at one point, she got married to a man. And it was not working out. It wasn't well. And the family then got involved and they blamed John for making her become a woman when she should have been a boy.
But the family had chosen it.
They did it, but John Money got blamed. It was a terrible thing. Some other psychologist who was very jealous of him wrote a book about it, and they were on Oprah talking about this case.
That's terrible.
And so in the end, John felt awful that he was betrayed like that.
Wow.
So you have to be careful with sexuality. People go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And that is an interesting case that you brought up. I'm very glad that you brought that up.
Oh, that person committed suicide eventually.
And the person, right. And if you follow the train of thought in that, that is exactly what happens. we see a lot of children that are born with sexual characteristics of male or female, but inside in their brain and in their genetic composition, they're the opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is very hard to get people to understand that. I try and explain that to people. I've seen kids as young as 3 years old may have been born with male characteristics. That child is totally female, and vice versa. And, you know, we were really on a path, right, of not only acknowledging that, but figuring out how to support it, what to do about it. Now in 2026, all of that's been blown up, at least out there, right? But for people that are listening, if you have a child like that, you really need to understand that they look one way and they are another. And that is fact. And Patrick, it's very sad that that person, you know, was brought up female when they had been born clearly a male. And ultimately, we found that suicide in the transgender community is huge. It's absolutely huge. You know, John was a very well-known psychiatrist, and I didn't know that that was how the career ended.
Yeah.
That makes me sad, you know. You know, that makes me
sad. That's
sad.
why other doctors are afraid to even touch the subject or even deal with it.
Well, but there are doctors, as you know, out there, and therapists out there, all over the country that are dealing with
the right ones. Yeah,
the right ones. The problem is now what's changed from the days.
You know what's helping too? The celebrities.
Yes.
Like Cher. Chastity was a girl. Now she's a boy. Chastity. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, they have a child, right? So
Elliot Page, the actor, Elliot Page.
Right. So people hear about it, they become a little more interested.
Right. But then the other side of the coin is you get people out there saying, oh, transgender people shouldn't be allowed to participate in sports. It's unfair, right? But then, as you know, the latest thing that came out from Hegesy, I always end up in this arena, Patrick. I don't understand why, but I do. You know, that they want to give testosterone to make the males, quote unquote, more male, more, you know, fighters. We'll turn them into fighters. But yet that very thing they're talking about, you know, in sports. So it's like a double-edged thing. It's who's looking and who's making the rules. And that is a lot of BS, you know?
It is. It's just a lot of hypocrisy.
And there's a lot of hypocrisy involved. So do you have another book in you, Patrick?
Maybe.
Huh?
A small one.
You have a small book. And what would that small book be about?
Well, I had a patient who had AIDS, and he wanted me to record our sessions. He wanted me to write about him. So I think maybe it would be like a journal that would talk about how he coped with it until he died.
He did
die. A young guy, very intelligent, had a great job in New York, friends, everything.
Yeah. Right. And his life got
I have all the tapes from him, so I'm trying to write that.
So you are. Great.
Yeah.
You understand that that's an important story. I mean, because we went through it, and although we can talk to a lot of younger people about it,
they don't understand.
They can't understand, and they're in the time of prep. You take prep, you're fine. They weren't damaged by the things. I was very damaged by the things I saw. I carried that with me.
There wasn't any medicine in the beginning.
No.
And then AZT, which was so lethal, that killed
awful.
Yeah.
There was something else someone brought up on one of my shows the other day. DDL or DDI. There was another horrific drug that I had blocked that I remember telling people, don't take that drug. It's going to make you sicker. They were, all those early drugs they came out with kill people. And that's an important thing for when you talk about the history of AIDS. You have to share that with people.
Yeah, it's important for them to know the history.
It's important for them to know the history. Exactly. Now, do you, with your patients, do you have a lot of senior patients or middle patients or younger patients? Like, what is it like for you in terms of the people you've worked with, say, in the last 10 years?
Well, in private practice, the people who come more often are the middle-aged people.
Yeah.
The young people are afraid to come. The old people feel there's no help for them.
There's no way. I know this is like, right.
Yeah.
The young ones are fearful. The old ones are like, forget it. There's nobody that can help me. Jesus, that's really dismal, huh?
That's right.
So but it's like
middle-aged people. And young, 20s, 30s, getting married, having a family, that'll drive them to therapy.
But what about people in the gay community?
They're more likely to come.
They're more likely to come.
They are, yeah.
Right.
Because they know they need help to deal with society.
Right.
That's what they come for. Right.
Right. I had a very interesting guest on this show a couple of weeks ago. And I think, I don't know if I sent you the segment, but the therapist wrote the book, You Are Blocked. And he interviewed 300 or more gay men in West Hollywood that came through his practice. And he came up with a lot of interesting hypotheses about what it means to be a gay male and how it starts at birth when parents start to notice things and the parents go into denial about those things. And they love the child, right? But there also becomes things that they kind of shut down about. And he said that gay males, he only dealt with gay males are aware of that. And it causes early on in the game almost a shame about being gay that they carry with them into adulthood. I'm curious, do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm just realizing myself how all their lives, take a gay male especially, the gay male all his life has had to hide it.
Yes.
He has to have this secret. A heterosexual man doesn't have to hide anything. He doesn't have to have any. He can do anything he wants.
And they do. Right. They do.
Incredible.
Right.
And the gay man has to always carry that shame. Yeah. I don't know about that book. I'd like to read that.
Yes, you should watch this segment. I think you're, psychologist to psychologist. I think you would find the interview very interesting. I found it really interesting because, again, I'm like a clearinghouse for everything. Why, I have no idea. People are like, who are you in this community? I said, I've just been here from the beginning. Really?
How did you get involved?
I'm just there, honest to God, Patrick. You knew me when I was like in my 20s.
When you were young.
Huh?
Yeah, when you were young.
I tell people this. In junior high, my boyfriend that I went to Palisades Amusement Park with, he turned out to be gay. My two girlfriends in third grade turned out to be gay. So it's obvious I have a history of this. And then people are like, well, what's your obsession with drag? When I remember this vivid memory. At 4 years old in nursery school, we got to do like a little play, a springtime play, and I got to put on butterfly wings. And to this day, I'm not kidding you, I remember how I felt as that butterfly. And here we are, decades later. I still, when I'm dancing, and even when I'm not dancing, I feel like I'm that butterfly, Patrick. I mean, as a therapist, do you ever question about me? It's a little strange.
You're unique.
I'm unique, right? Right.
You have a
And
great attitude about
I have
things.
a good attitude and I see myself as a butterfly. And,
Yeah.
certainly in this community, I've been able to do so much. We had powers, pet owners with AIDS resource service. We got Triversity. I've been involved with so many organizations. The Imperial Court of New York just raised money for
And they're
housing.
all attracted to you. All of these people are attracted
They
to
are.
you.
That is true. In the same
You're
way, I remember going one Christmas to like a finance party, and a girlfriend of mine said, "Oh, please come. There's going to be a lot of single guys there." And it wasn't my vibe, but she was fun, so I went with her. And it was the first time I've ever been in a situation nobody talked to me. I was so used to people being attracted.
Yeah.
Nobody in that room, and it wasn't my imagination, because I've duplicated that experience in other ways since. Now I'm like a grown-up person, so it doesn't faze me, and I can always find some poor soul in that room to drum up a conversation with. But yeah, I can remember being in those situations where nobody would.
Fit their mold.
I
You
didn't
fit
their
that
mold.
mold.
And I guess to come full circle with you, we are all expected in life. There's a mold, or what I call central casting, or categories. And no matter how hard you try and get away from it, all of us are being put in categories every day, and then there's some of us who dance to our own drum. And the reason we can end up in places like New York or LA, there's a lot of other people there. We call them our tribe, right? They're dancing to their own drum too. Look at you, Patrick. I was about to say you could write a book, but you did.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned my acting career.
Yeah.
When I was a young actor in New York, they said I looked ethnic. I'm real Italian. I'm dark, ethnic. Not many parts were for ethnics.
The category.
Until The Godfather came and Al Pacino became the big star. That changed it.
It changed the trajectory. But also, I remember you went over to Europe and you worked there. You worked in Italy.
Yeah, in Rome.
You worked
I
in
worked
Rome.
in
And you worked
Italian
in
films.
like spaghetti westerns.
Everything, yeah, because I looked Italian, so I figured I might as well go there. Yeah,
Right.
spaghetti westerns, the gangster movies.
Right. And
Yeah.
for you personally, did you find that being gay at that time, it was easier to be gay there than here?
Oh, yeah. Because they never called anybody gay. The
Right.
men, especially the men, they were free to do whatever they wanted. If they were
Sure, you
married,
could do it,
it didn't
yeah.
matter. They could do. The women could not.
Right.
Who could do anything they wanted. No labels, no talk. Yeah.
Much less judgmental.
Yeah.
I remember I had a friend here that owned an answering service, and someone said, "Boy, he's a flamer." And he looked at that person and he said, "I'm not gay, I'm European." And I just imagine that things were so much easier.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick, you've certainly laid a lot of groundwork for people coming up, and the effect that you've had on the police is really a quite wonderful thing, and the lives that you've affected along the way. If you had to do anything different, what would it be when you look back and think about it?
What would I do differently, huh? I don't know. I guess I'd do the same thing all over.
You wouldn't do the same thing all over
You know?
again, because that was what was right for you. For me, it would be, when I look
Right,
back now,
yeah.
I was fearful. And things I
We
did
all
were out
were.
of fear, right?
Yeah. But see, now you've developed all these organizations, and I look forward to coming to those activities
Thank
because
you.
you've done
But
so much for these people.
well, thank you. But you know what? You didn't come see me at Christmas in July on Sunday, Patrick. I was at Industry
missed
Bar
that.
raising money with the
Yeah.
Imperial Court of New York.
Really?
And again,
Did you raise money?
huh?
Did you raise money?
Of course we did. There were, I think, like 14 performers. You know, we people donate. I sell raffle tickets at all these events. I have to say, I don't just get up there and perform, and all the tips, of course, go to whatever organization we're raising money for. But my give back also includes I sell raffle tickets, an arm's length of raffle tickets for $20 for all these amazing prizes that are donated by people that support these organizations. You see, everybody can be doing something. Even if you can't attend, if you've got something great that you can donate, you know, people, we love to have those at our events. So yeah, it's all good. Patrick, I don't know where the time went.
I know. But listen, do you remember I won that great big necklace with all the diamonds? So heavy, my cousin Jennifer couldn't wear it. It was so heavy.
I know, but weren't you going to give it to me?
Didn't I?
Wait, yes, you did. And now
I think we did.
I have this really heavy necklace. I couldn't remember where I got it.
That's it. I think so.
You gifted it back to me.
She was too tiny. She couldn't wear it.
Well, you know, I love those rhinestones. Patrick, you've really been terrific. I always take a picture at the end. And again, I always like to give my guests a little something to leave with. You have to write that book about that person that shared his last years with you. That's a really, really important thing. You know, it's human emotion and it's empathy. We need more of it out there. Now look into my camera. I love taking these on the Zoom here.
Okay. How do you do it?
Just look at me. Look into the eye of the computer.
Yeah.
Your camera. Yeah.
See it?
Cool.
You took it?
It's done. Yes, I'll send it to you. Don't worry.
That was painless.
It was painless. This was a painless moment for you, Patrick. Great show. Thank you so much. You have a good night. Go have a cup of coffee. Relax. Watch Netflix. Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody. It was good.